Did you know that many everyday foods are packed with hidden chemicals? Today I'm revealing 10 common foods that I'm no longer buying. And they're healthier and budget-friendly alternatives that you can incorporate into your everyday lifestyle. Okay, so the first thing that I am not buying anymore and I'm making instead, now that I'm trying to live a more real food lifestyle, is salad dressing. So my kids love a salad, which I'm so happy about. It's a great way for them to eat their vegetables. And really just salad in general is a great healthy thing to have as a side on your meal or as a meal on its own. The only problem with this is the deceiving, and I've known this for years, deceiving salad dressings. Now, back in 2020 when I started my channel, salad dressing at Aldi was like 99 cents. So it was a great, really inexpensive way to get your greens in and just smother it in that 99-cent salad dressing. Well, what we're finding out now is that that salad dressing is full of seed oils and emulsifiers. So seed oils are going to be inflammatory to the system, and there was also recently a study that showed that it actually increased the growth in some cancer cells. And emulsifiers are also starting to be linked to cancer as well. It feels like, I know everything is, but as we see things, you know, it is my choice to make these choices within our household. So we're not buying the dressing anymore. These days at the grocery store, it's a little bit more expensive for the store brand, but that's always been my thing, right? Buy the store brand. Unfortunately, there is no store brand of a salad dressing that is going to be without those seed oils, and it's going to be maybe organic or whole food. There are a few versions that include things that I like. They have the Chosen Foods one, and then they also have the Primal Kitchen, and they have a massive line of these. So there's all different salad dressings for you that you can buy. The only problem with this is that it's 3 times the price as the store brand original salad dressing. And for me, that is just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg of all these things starting to add up and really take a hit to your grocery bill. So what can we do instead? Well, one thing is I do keep this on hand. It's $5.99 at the grocery store versus I think it was like $2.19 for the store brand. I do like to keep it on hand for emergencies because you know what, there's gonna be times we need a dressing. But generally, I like to make my own dressing. And you can make that using Greek yogurt, some avocado mayo, things that you may already have on hand in order to make a really delicious homemade ranch dressing with things that you're already buying, and so it costs next to nothing for you to have in your house. You can make it a little mason jar. I'm gonna show you how. All right, we're gonna make one of 3 dressings that I have on my app. This is kind of a ranch, but I also have a balsamic vinaigrette, a Thousand Island or Russian dressing. So you want to start with 1 clove of garlic minced. You definitely want to mince this pretty fine because this is going into a dressing, so it's going to give a lot of flavor. Garlic powder is also an option, but fresh is definitely best in this. I always like to make this in these ball glasses or mason jars. I just think that they're so easy to use. Glass, it's nice and reusable. Just slicing this lemon, we're going to use it in a little bit. So I'm going to do about 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt and 1/4 cup of avocado mayo. I have found this is my best solution for making something that's not too Greek yogurty, but also not too avocado mayo-y flavored, which is kind of like, to me, it tastes a little bit like Miracle Whip or something. If you like that, then you can do all, but I don't. Then we're going to add in about 1.5 teaspoons of garlic powder. I'm gonna do about 1.5 teaspoons of dried dill too. 1/2 teaspoon of parsley, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then we'll do it to taste, and pepper. 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, so about 1/2 lemon. I'm just gonna give this a good mix. So I'm just gonna add in some water to thin it out. You're gonna have to do this to, you know, your liking. I added maybe 1/4 cup. There we have our homemade dressing. So with that dressing and those other dressings on my app, you can make delicious salads. You can still eat well. And you don't have to buy the expensive dressings. You just need to make it at home. And that's nice because you can make one and it'll last all week. The next thing that I'm not buying is almond milk. Now, almond milk has been looked at as an extremely healthy food, right? Oh, I'm gonna use the dairy alternative. I'm gonna use almond milk. Oat milk in particular. Oh, oat milk's so good. I'm going to go the healthy way and do oat milk. Well, it turns out that the almond milk that you buy, the Almond Breeze or even the store brand, that's the least expensive. I think that at Aldi I was able to get it for like $2 for 1/2 gallon. I mean, that's an amazing price. Again, full of emulsifiers, And your oat milk is actually full of seed oils. So they actually put oils in that to make it kind of bind together. There is an alternative. It's called Malk, M-A-L-K. I actually haven't really seen any other alternatives aside from the Malk. But as you can see, this bottle is very small and it's 3 times or 2 times the price. I mean, when you look at the unit price, it's significantly more expensive than buying the Almond Breeze or the store brand almond milk. Now, there is a really simple solution to this. And this is something that I got into a tizzy about when I first started eating like this. And I was like, I don't want to have all these things in our food. And I always like almond milk in my coffee. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do because it's like $6 or $7 for this milk. And that's just adding to my grocery bill. Again, another massive expense. And it's small amounts, but these all add up really quickly. 10 times of these things, that's $100. Or it's not $100 exactly, don't get me on the math, but it's close. So what I started doing was making my own. You may think, oh, it's raw milk. No, this is almond milk. I learned how to milk an almond. You really haven't lived until you've milked an almond. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna show you my recipe for making almond milk. It's amazing. I bought this bag of organic, raw, unroasted, unsalted almonds from Whole Foods. I've been able to make 4 of these so far. So that's 4, for us, that's a week. So 4 weeks worth of almond milk for less than $10. So if it's like, I don't remember off the top of my head what the number was. If it's like $5.99 or $7.99 for the milk, say it's $8, that's 8 times 4. You're looking at $32 versus 10. So you're saving a significant amount of money just making it at home and putting it into your regular routine. So I'm gonna show you how.
With 1 cup of almonds and 5 cups of water, and we're gonna let that soak for about 12 hours. All right, so I've soaked these almonds overnight and I'm literally just gonna go in with my hand and we're gonna put them into my NutriBullet. If you have a blender, you can just use that, but I don't, so I have to do this in 2 batches. I probably should just get a blender, but hey, it's all right. Okay, so I do about half of those soaked almonds and then 2.5 cups of water. I have tried to do this before in a food processor. Don't try that because the water goes everywhere, so that's no good. So then we're just going to grind this up in the NutriBullet until it's just like pulp. And then you could use like a strainer. I'm actually just going to use a cloth. I'm just going to use a white napkin basically over a bowl to strain it out. And then it's almost like milking, right? We're actually going to milk the almonds by squeezing all the milk out of that. And then we're going to throw the solids out. And this is what we get. And I usually get like another small jar too. And this lasts us the week. It's no problem. I still buy regular milk. I just like almond milk for coffee and for smoothies particularly. I don't know why, like in smoothies, I don't really like to put dairy in them for some reason. So we love to use this almond milk. Oh, and you can also add a pinch of salt and a little bit of vanilla to give it some flavor. So it seems silly, but it can save you a ton of money and it really doesn't take very much time. I mean, the entire process, although it happens over a long period of time, it takes less than 5 minutes total. The third thing I am not buying anymore at the grocery store is tortillas. Tortillas are a family favorite. We love them in order to make air fried tortilla pizzas, quesadillas, quick breakfast wraps. I love having tortillas around. And I used to buy these big Mission burrito sized tortillas for like $3 for 10 of them. But those, again, are not good for you. They are full of all the bromated flours, which is another cancer-causing agent. They are full of additives. There are a bunch of tortillas that are marketed as healthy. They're gonna say that they're gluten-free, carb-free, but when you look at the ingredients, it's not even a food. Like, no wonder it's 25 calories. It's basically eating cardboard. There are some store-bought alternatives. We have these Siete almond flour, and if you look at this beautiful Siete brand, it's not organic, but when you look at the ingredients on it, they are beautiful. They are so clean. They just don't have a lot of ingredients in each of their items that they sell. And sometimes there's a trade-off, right? You're not gonna get organic, you get something else, or you get organic, or you're not gonna get something else. But I would rather have non-organic, non-chemicals than organic with palm oil or canola oil, because there is tons of organic canola oil out there that is still inflammatory. It's still something that human beings were never meant to eat.
Another option is Heavenly Organic Sourdough Tortillas. That's an amazing brand that you can purchase online, and I had purchased from them online. I think it was 8 or 10 tortillas for $7.99. So what am I to do? I learned to make my own sourdough tortillas, and it's actually super easy, and everybody loves them. They taste delicious. They're a great swap out, and I just make them like once a week. Try to make as many as I can, and it's something we use for our tacos, for our quick quesadillas, which is a great way to just transport leftovers. Like, I think quesadillas, my husband says it's the perfect food because you can put anything in it. Breakfast wraps for heading out the door so we don't have to buy anything at a fast food restaurant. So tortillas are an amazing thing to keep around, but so many of them are not healthy. So I'm gonna show you how to make sourdough tortillas at home. The recipe for a sourdough starter is on my app, which is something that you can purchase down in the description box. It right now is $1.98 a month, which is the lowest price it's going to be, and $19.99 for the whole year. That price is going up on Friday. So that's where you can find all of my latest recipes, and it also has meal planning capabilities, so that you can actually put all of the recipes that you want to use into a meal plan for yourself. It will automatically create a shopping list for you, which you can easily click off anything that you already have in your home. And then you can either send that to a PDF with the meal plan. You can copy the shopping list so that you can paste it into notes or an Excel file. You can send it directly to Instacart. So this app is absolutely incredible. And so that's where you're gonna find all the recipes you're gonna see today. And I really recommend that if you're thinking about buying it and getting in on all of the things that I'm gonna be sharing in the future, everything that I've shared in the past, and those meal planning and shopping list capabilities, to click down the description box and make sure that you get it for that low price of $1.98 a month or $19.99 for the whole year. Yes, a sourdough starter recipe is on the app, but you can also purchase one. So I will put a link to where you can find a really good sourdough starter that you can actually purchase by mail. So here is the recipe. So we're starting with 400 grams of flour, and if I don't have the 400 of this all-purpose, I can always use bread flour because I need to get some more organic flour. There you go, we're pretty close. To that, you want to add 170 grams of warm water. It's super important if you are getting started with sourdough to get a scale. I find that very important. So there is one in my Amazon store. They're pretty cheap. This one's been worth its weight in gold for sure. I have used it and more. I've got 6 tablespoons of melted butter, 7 grams of salt, and 280 grams of, this is unfed starter, so this is straight from my refrigerator. I have extra jars of it, so I don't have to worry about like making an active starter right now. And then this is super easy. We're just gonna put this in here with the dough hook for 5 minutes. So you see it's in a place where it's like sticky, but not too sticky, and that'll be fine because once we make the dough balls, they'll be on some flour. It's a little stickier than I'm used to, but whatever. I'm gonna put this in another bowl, greased with some olive oil. Kids are allowed, so. And then we're gonna put a wet, damp towel over this so it doesn't stick, and let it sit for 30 minutes to 2.5 hours. And then I just waited 30 minutes because my family was waiting for dinner this particular night. I put a bunch of flour on a mat. I love this baking mat, again, also in my Amazon store, and the rolling pin that I use. I think it's called a French rolling pin. Absolutely love it. You want to break that into 16 equal pieces. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like, they're just tortillas. It's not a big deal. I use a bench scraper to cut mine up. You do not want to use like a sharp knife on a mat like this because it will just cut the mat. Done it before. It's a bad call. Then you can either shape them all into balls and then roll them out, but I kind of like to just get everything going. So I use a skillet, it's a ceramic skillet, so I can do 2 at a time. You could also heat cast iron pans on your oven over high heat. So you just want it to be the hottest that you can make it. But I use basically like one of those electric skillets, and it has a ceramic top that I really like for this. And then you want to roll that out with a bunch of flour. These, like I said, they were a little bit wetter than I'm used to. Sometimes they hold together a little bit better, but you know, it's always going to depend on your starter and the temperature in the house. And, you know, baking is going to be a science and a process. So if these were just a little bit wetter, they still turned out great. great. I just had to use a little extra flour so that it soaked it up. And then you want to roll it out really thin. So you'll see when I'm finished here, it's actually going to be almost like you can see through. You see those circles at the bottom of the baking mat? We're going to be able to see those through this dough, but we don't want it to break in half. And you need to be able to kind of pick it up without it breaking. And then you're just going to place that on your high heat skillet or cast iron pan. And we're just going to cook it for 30 seconds on each side. It puffs up super quick. I do want to show you what it looks like as it puffs up, and so that you're aware of the process and what it's going to look like. If you cook it a little bit longer and you get a little bit browner spots on it, it's going to be okay, but sometimes they turn out a little crunchy. And you really want those tortillas that can really easily fold and are kind of more malleable. So I've sped up this video for you so that you can kind of see the process and how it looks as it puffs up. So it definitely takes the 30 seconds, not like the 5 seconds that I'm going to show you right here. But you're going to repeat this process 16 times. So it's nice. You can make 2 at a time. You roll them out. I usually roll them as the other one's cooking. And the process really works really well. So it's like 30 seconds to roll, 30 seconds to cook, and then you flip and you switch them. And you end up with 16 amazing sourdough tortillas. These are so good. The package of the Siete ones, which are, they're good. They're a good choice for when you're in a rough spot. But one thing is they don't fold like these, and they're $10 versus, and you get 8 of them versus we're getting 16 for pennies on the dollar because we're just buying flour and a little bit of butter. So such a deal. And I actually just pop these in my fridge so that they last longer. But because they're sourdough, they'll last on the counter too. All right, so number 4 is bread. And the bread aisle is full of all of these breads that are just full of all sorts of chemicals and preservatives and things you probably don't want to put in your body. There are a few brands of bread that are pretty good. There is one seeded bread from Aldi that I really like. There is also the Dave's Killer Bread, although some of those still have added sugar, so you really have to watch out for those. And then there is the Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread. That is a good option if you're gluten-free. It is seed oil free, where a lot of the other breads like Udi's does contain oils. There's also one called One Mighty Mill stone milled bread. That is a fantastic option, but they didn't have it at my store that day. Then even above that, the godly Ezekiel bread, which is found in the frozen section. Ezekiel bread is sprouted grain bread, so it's really, there's nothing else in there except for sprouted grains. And it tastes like it. It's an acquired taste. It's a little cardboardy, not my favorite. My kids don't like it at all. But what I have found is that homemade organic sourdough bread is really good. We've also done some order-in sourdough breads because a lot of the sourdough breads at the grocery store aren't even really sourdough. They're not made with a starter. They're made with yeast, and then they have like an acidic agent in them to make them taste like sourdough, but they're not actual sourdough. And the benefit of sourdough is that it helps with glucose spikes. So the fermentation actually helps the way that your body processes the food. The amazing thing about making your own homemade tortillas or your own homemade bread is that the ingredients are very low and you know exactly what is in it. So Heavenly organic breads are a really good option. That's the online choice. And then there's also Wild Grain. They're a good option for online sourdough breads. They're just more than what used to be my 98 cents a package of bread at Aldi that I used to get. That's, again, it's not just like a couple times, it's like 6 times what it used to be in 2020 for me. So I understand I'm changing what I'm eating, but like my income didn't go up by 6. No, I don't think anyone's did. So we're trying to eat healthier and the implications of that are so high. So sometimes you do have to trade time for money or money for time. And in this case, it is really worth it to make your own bread at home. I have been baking a delicious sourdough loaf for years and I've really gotten back into the rhythm lately. I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to make some sourdough. And in order to do this, I need to start with some flour and some water. And we're just going to let it, quote, hydrate. I'm going to mix it with our hands. We're going to let it hydrate for 30 minutes. Sourdough always requires the scale. So if you're thinking about making sourdough, which I highly recommend, it's amazing to make it at home, your own organic flour, but don't skimp. Buy the thing. It's cheap. It's not an expensive item. It's on Amazon. It's in my store. Down in the description. You can get it easily. Very simple. Okay, so we're gonna need 750 grams of bread flour. Now, generally, I would use 500 grams of all-purpose and 250 of bread. But guess what? I'm out of all-purpose, so we're cooking on the edge. But I've done this before and it's fine. Wow, we are really down to the wire here. 200 grams of whole wheat. And I just zero it back out so I can do it straight from zero so I don't have to do any math. All right, 650 grams. I'm gonna give this a little, we're gonna go in here with our hands anyway, so it's fine. Going in with the hands. I should pull up my sleeves. 650 grams of water. And it says, you know, my recipe says room temperature. I'm not like sitting my water at room temperature. You just don't want to pour like straight up cold tap water in. If you start to make sourdough for a while, you start to get like, not only like your rhythm down, but you'll have your favorite bowls to make it in. So like I always like to do my mixing in this big bowl. And then I only have one banneton, so I'll use that. That's like the special one that you use to make the bread in, but this is gonna make 2 loaves of bread. So I'll use another bowl that looks kind of like this, just a little bit smaller. And that's my other favorite bowl to make sourdough in, so. It's a labor of love. So we're making a shaggy dough right now. The whole point is really just to get the flour hydrated and add in that moisture. We're not gonna shock the system by suddenly being like, hey, we're gonna make bread right now. We're gonna give it some water before we even add in our starter. I did start the day by, not the day, I did it like halfway through the day. My starter's pretty active, so I started with 113 grams of starter and 113 grams of bread flour and 113 grams of water. And I mixed all that together and I waited until it doubled. It's actually more than doubled, so it's looking really good. And it's cold in my house, so what I'll do a lot of times is I just keep it on top of the stove, and if I don't have anything cooking in the stove, I'll actually just put the stove on warm, and that tends to like get it heating pretty quickly. So that's my recommendation if you are a person with a cold home, especially in the winter. In the summer, I don't need to do that. It's hot enough and it's fine. All right, let's get these hands out of here. I'm just gonna cover this with a damp cloth for 30 minutes. We'll let it hydrate and then we'll add in the starter. So now we add 200 grams of starter and 20 grams of salt. Don't forget the salt, it's important. I've forgotten it before and it wasn't very good. All right, we gotta get in here with our hands. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna mix it all together and then we're gonna let it sit for another 30 minutes and then we're gonna do what's called stretch and folds. That's gonna help everything get super elastic and glutinous. All right, this is already looking beautiful. Like it's not even really a bread loaf and it's already beautiful. Okay, let it sit for another 30 minutes. All right, this is actually my second stretch and fold. I didn't catch the first one on camera, but you wanna take it and make it really high. So really stretching it out and then pushing it over the other side. 15 more minutes, we'll be back. So you actually want to do one more of these 15 minutes later. So 3 stretch and folds 15 minutes apart. And then you're going to do 3 more that are 30 minutes apart. And then we're just going to cover this up until the next day. So you want to do it overnight for at least 12 hours. I actually left mine for a really long time because I was out the next day. So you'll see when I'm making the breads that it's definitely very puffy, lots of air in there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Again, this is just going to depend on the temperature and the time of year where it's really cold in my house, so it didn't really matter. But in the summer, I probably wouldn't want to do that because it would probably overproof, which would not be a good thing. So then you want to pour your dough out onto a mat with flour. We're going to cut that in half. And then take each of the dough balls and kind of pull them towards each other to make a ball. So you pull each of the sides up and then you put that seam side down and use your hands. And you really have to watch me do this where I'm kind of pulling the dough almost under with my hands and around at the same time. It's definitely a practice that you'll get used to. And once you start doing it, you know the feel of it and you'll be very comfortable with shaping your bread dough. And then you want to make sure you have a good amount of flour over the top and then put it into a banneton, or in this case, I'm using a bowl with a napkin. And I actually couldn't find my favorite bowl for this one, so I used a different one. But either way, I like to put the napkin in there, so that's almost like what would be in the banneton. And then you want to make sure there's flour so it doesn't stick. And then you want to cover it with, I like to do like a saran wrap and then put that in the fridge overnight. So that's refrigerator fermentation, or a long fermentation in the refrigerator. And you can do that for 12 hours. And sometimes I've done it for 2 days too. So the nice thing about the long ferment is that it still works in the fridge. I've heard of friends doing it for even a week. So it happens, and it just is different every time. You never know. So when you're ready to bake, you want to put a Dutch oven with the cover on in the oven at 500 degrees for an hour. Then you take your bread out, put more flour on top if you need to, and slice that. I just use a regular knife. Unfortunately, I didn't get footage of it, but you slice it. Then you place it inside of your Dutch oven, covered at 500 degrees for 20 minutes. Then uncover it, bring it down to 475 degrees, and then cook it for another 25 minutes, and it's done. And so this is what that looked like. I made, obviously, the 2 loaves. They both turned out so pretty. Thought they were just gorgeous. It's funny, one of them seemed like flatter than the other, so I think maybe I didn't cut a deep enough gash in the first one. But I used to have like a scorer, and I can't find it, so I've just been using a knife, which isn't ideal, but you can use a knife. Like, it does work. So this is what they look like, and they're so delicious, and you made it yourself, so you know what the ingredients are, and it's just a good call. Okay, the 5th thing I am not buying anymore, and I am instead making at home, is popcorn. Now, what I mean by this is the pop in the microwave popcorn that you make for like a movie night. Lesser Evil is an amazing brand that has a very clean bag of popcorn, and that's like instead of buying Smart Pop. Those are incredible, and they're actually comparable in price to many of the other popcorns you're gonna find. So that's a really nice one that's just completely interchangeable, and you're not gonna have an expense associated with it. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about those bags of popcorn full of oils. Even the ones that are like simply this, are only 3 ingredients, or organic. Again, we're having organic palm oil. Also wanted to avoid the bags that the popcorn are in, because you're also sticking that in the microwave and heating it up with that bag. And I've heard and my husband came home the other day and was like, there's a lot of carcinogens in there. Now, we hear things all the time, so true or not true. It feels like it could be true because there's like a plastic lining, and I mean, it doesn't look great. So I'm using my head, I'm saying, okay, probably not great to cook that in there. So I'm not going to. It's actually much cheaper to buy this bag of organic popcorn and pop it at home. I have an air popper. I'm gonna link that in my Amazon store. So if you're interested in getting one yourself, super easy to just pop at home. And then we can make the most delicious popcorn for our movie nights with homemade melted butter. Simple as it is, topped with salt. You can do truffle salt if you want. We do fresh grated aged Parmesan cheese. So no shaker parm, the aged Parmesan cheese, the real deal. Put that right on there. My 7-year-old loves buffalo, so he even puts buffalo sauce on that. You can get that from Primal Kitchen. You can make your own at home. Again, that's just really just butter and hot sauce. So you can do all sorts of amazing things with this. You can put some pepper, do like a cracked pepper, get a little vinegar, do salt and vinegar. The options are endless when it comes to making the popcorn. And so that's kind of a non-recipe, right? You pop it in the air popper, and then you just pour over the butter, and you put whatever ingredients you want on top of it. And it is so good and so much better for you than those bags you're gonna find at the store. Now, the 6th thing that I'm not buying anymore, and I hate to say it, is cheap chicken. So I used to get the bags of chicken, 10 pounds of the chicken leg quarters at Walmart for like $6. That's 60 cents a pound. Recently, I saw the leg quarters 99 cents a pound. I mean, prices have gone up depending on what store you shop at. And I get it, it's a good deal for some, but not within what I want to cook. So when chickens are fed like that, not only is it just inhumane and not a good setup for them, they're also fed a GMO grain feed that has all of the chemicals and all the glyphosate that you could possibly imagine in it. And so that all transfers into the chicken. So these chickens are already like chemically like overloaded with chemicals, right? So I want to buy organic chicken. There is something out there called natural chicken or simply chicken. All these fancy words for it's a marketing thing and antibiotic free. Many of those things are regulated anyway from the get-go, and it's the same product as you may find with your 99-cent a pound chicken. So instead, I look for organic, labeled organic chicken. There is often a store brand of that, and the drumsticks are actually going to be the cheapest. So in this case, I found these for $3.99 a pound, which yes, is much more expensive than the non-organic drumsticks, but it's still a really great price for the meat that you're getting. The great thing about cooking some of those is you can also cook them up and you can take those bones and make bone broth. And bone broth is an extremely healthy thing that you can cook your rice in. And, I'll go more into detail on that another time, but those chicken drumsticks are an amazing choice. In general, you're going to get your chicken breast. That's also can be $7.99 to $11.99 a pound. Look for it on sale. I'm still buying clearance chicken. So clearance can mean that either they purchased too much of it or it's close to its date, so they're trying to get rid of it before it goes bad. In that case, you can buy it with the clearance sticker on it, and you can bring it home, put it in your freezer, and then just use it when you need it. So I do try and take advantage of those things so that I can still get a better deal on the chicken, but I'm just not buying the 60-cent or 99-cent a pound chicken quarter legs anymore. We're switching over to the organic chicken. The next thing I am not buying anymore is the sugar yogurt. So the kids love even the more expensive organic Stonyfield yogurts, the little pouches, 14 grams of sugar, 17 grams of sugar. I mean, they love it. And I mentioned in my last video, the daily expectation for us, according to like the American Academy of Pediatrics or something, is 25 grams of added sugar. So you're getting more than half of your added sugar for the day just in that one yogurt. It really feels unlikely that you're not going to end up going over that. And every time we have that added sugar, it's going to cause a glucose spike, and we're going to be ready for some more food in a little while, and just cause you to get hungrier and hungrier. And, the idea is like, sometimes I question whether if you're getting hungrier and hungrier, are you actually saving money because you're eating more in the long run? I don't know, just a thought. Anyway, I'm not buying that anymore for my kids. We're not having the sugar yogurt. And it took some getting used to, but now they love to grab the 100% grass-fed organic yogurt from Stonyfield. That's the brand that I've seen. I think there's also like a brand called Maple Hill. You want to look for grass-fed, organic, plain Greek yogurt. That is going to be the best yogurt that you can get. Now, the good thing about that is unlikely you're going to find it in the little containers. And the little containers are always going to be kind of an upcharge, right? They're going to start charge you more per ounce. So you get it in a large container. It's still much more expensive than the non-grass-fed ones or the non-organic ones, but it's definitely worth it. We have Smash Jam. The Smash Jam is a no sugar added. It's made with dates jelly that my kids love. We use that instead of regular jelly in our PB&Js as well. But you can mix that right in with the yogurt, and that is a great way for them to get their protein in. It's an amazing snack. And so when you do it that way, it ends up being not too expensive compared to buying the individual size yogurts. But it's not what it used to be. You're not getting the 52-cent yogurts, the Yoplays. You buy 10 for $2 or something. We're not buying that anymore. We're gonna go with the grass-fed. We're gonna mix it with our own additives. Really good to do that with granola too, homemade granola. And I'm hoping to get to a point where I make my own yogurt soon too, so stay tuned for that. Okay, number 8 is crackers. My kids used to love the Ritz crackers stuffed with the cheese. You know those cheap little cracker packets that you can give to somebody? Oh my goodness, there is nothing good in those. And unfortunately, I don't even have an alternative for you. We just stopped buying them. They are not good for you. There is really no alternative that's going to work for those. We are going to stay away from them. They are just full of chemicals, full of junk. What I am doing instead is making sure that we do have a lot of homemade snacks available to us at all times. So I'm making dates stuffed with peanut butter and chocolate chips. My kids love those. I love those. They're so good. That's really like a sweet treat, but like so delicious. We're doing the yogurt, homemade energy balls. I always make sure that we have fresh sourdough and butter available. They love that. They love that with peanut butter and jelly. Fresh fruits and vegetables, so already cut up carrots with dressing for dipping, or bananas, oranges. Not as many berries because berries are very expensive, so that's a tough one to fit in on a budget, on a tight budget. We do a lot of smoothies, so berries you can find much less expensive, especially organic ones, frozen, so you can buy quite a few frozen and then make smoothies. I got my kids into making smoothies. That's one of my 7-year-old's favorite, and he figured out how to make his own. It took a little bit of getting used to, but we figured it all out. So those are really cool, and those are also things that you're gonna find in the app. You're gonna find all of those snacks. Number 9 is Pirate's Booty. I'm making a healthier swap for something that's not all that nutritious to begin with, but we're going with the lesser evil, which I think is the perfect name for this. Lesser evil, right? It's still something that is not super nutritious, but it's the lesser of the two evils because it's made with avocado oils, and these ones in particular are a vegan product, so they have nutritional yeast in them, and they are organic. Is this a real whole food that is nutritious for your body? Not necessarily. It's not really adding a lot to your daily values. But I know, like real life, right? We like crunchy things. We like to have a snack. And so if I'm going to have any snack at my house, I'm okay with that one versus other whole food things that I'm going to make at home. I'm certainly not going to have those Ritz crackers. So Pirate's Booty for lesser evil. And I think I filmed this next part at the store. We're talking about food dyes. Number 10 is food dyes, and you might be thinking about these traditional food dyes, which I used to use all the time for baking, which we've now swapped out for plant-based dyes, which I can find at Whole Foods, but they're in more than just the food dyes that you traditionally think of. They're actually all over the place inside your children's food, inside of things like Doritos, gummy snacks, chips, crackers, yogurts. Those kind of things are full of those hidden dyes, and we really have to watch out for those because so many people have sensitivities to them. My children definitely have a reaction to them, and it does crazy things to their nervous system. And those dyes are actually banned in many European countries, so why are they legal in the United States? These are just 10 everyday foods that I'm no longer buying at the grocery store, and this is just part 1 in a series of things that I'm going to be doing in the future. Like, there's kids behind me, but that's my life. That's how we live. They live here too. I'd love to know which of these things you're surprised about the most. Let me know in the comments. And if you're looking for these lovely recipes that are in this video, make sure to check out my app, Meals with Maria Plus. The link is in the description box. The scale price of $1.98 per month or $19.99 for the year is going away this Friday. So get in on the ground floor while you can. And I'll see you soon.